You're recording. My name is Amir. I'm one of the business directors based out of Dubai. I've been working with Refinitiv for the past 5 years and the IFC FinTech Hive since its since the start, I think a few years ago. So we'll be happy to be back again and engaging with the new cohort and telling our story. So risk and compliance is one of the hot topics in the region. Obviously, I don't know how you've been following the news. It's been discussed at the high level government obviously looking at sanctions regime and the policies and procedures are one of the major important reputational risks that all the financial institutions, anyone in the finance realm, and the governments are basically looking to mitigate. So we're here to help that happen, and we've basically taken long strides to be participating in this scenario, and the demand has been phenomenal. We as Refinitiv, as you know, we are a financial data and technology company, recently acquired by the London Stock Exchange Group. So we're part of the London Stock Exchange Group, which makes us probably one of the biggest financial infrastructure and data and technology infrastructures in the world. Not the first one, but one of them. So we are one of the oldest fintech companies around the world. And our roots started with Thomson Reuters, and then one of our businesses was sold to Blackstone in 2018, and that's where Refinitiv came from. It was rebranded to be called Refinitiv, and now we're part of the LSEG group. Anyway, I don't want to give you too much of a spiel here about the background. I know you had a very long day, and it's Thursday, and you're looking forward to the weekend. So I'll pass the mic down to my colleague, Case, who's the subject matter expertise when it comes to risk, compliance, technology, and data, and he will be able to take you through his presentation. Welcome, and over to you, Case.
Thank you, Amir. So it's a pleasure to be here again for the, I think, 4th or 5th time with the new FinTech Hive cohort. Amir and myself being part of this, since I think 2017 or 2018. This is the second episode we're doing it virtually. We were hoping that we do it on site, but we still I think some strict constraints for when it comes to COVID related measures. So about me, my name is Qais. I handle the risk solutions proposition for Refinitiv, or previously Thomson Reuters. I have been with the company for the last 8 years, covering different kind of regions and markets. And my background is FinTech for the last 14 years or so, working for payments companies or solution advisories companies from technology perspectives, and most recently in the past 8 to 10 years in compliance and risk domains. Why you you might ask, Amir briefly mentioned this, the mandate for compliance and regulatory adherence to many laws and regulations in the UAE and globally has become very, very important topic. And you may ask, as most of you are startups now, why would we care about these things? Why would someone like Qais or Amir come to us and talk to us about compliance and screening and KYC and know your customers and risks and etc. So the drivers for this has been there for the last, I would say, easily 10 years. And every year we're seeing a new kind of set of rules and regulations that the sole objective for it is regulate the markets, whether it's a financial sector or the government sector, or as you see on the screen here, the DNFPs, which is part of the Ministry of Economy. Now, this snippet I took from the newspaper, from the national newspaper in the UAE, is about the mandate that the Ministry of Economy in the UAE has taken to promote the culture of compliance and ensure there's proper adherence for all these rules and regulations across the entities that belongs to the Ministry of Economy or regulated by the Ministry of Economy. And this came into a response of the FATF review or findings that has been published in 2020. And there was some sort of major focus on improvements in this sector specifically. So a brief background of where we stand in the moment in terms of regulations and fines, etc. In the past 6 months of 2021, the fines, the total amount of fines that has been issued against banks or corporates or like financial institutes has reached almost $1 billion. And this is violation of most of it related to money laundering allegations or money laundering kind of offenses. And as you see here on the screen, you find the mix of payment companies, banks, corporates, etc. So the laws is not just designed for specific sector, it's for everyone. And you as a startup companies, as entities, you would like to attract customers from different kind of backgrounds, offering services to maybe multiple jurisdictions, not necessarily the UAE. You need to make sure you are complying with all these regulations when it comes to money laundering and terrorist financing and sanctions regimes and etc. Yeah. In the UAE specifically, there's, I'm sure you have seen in the year 2021, a lot of developments. There has been a new courts specifically created to tackle financial crime related offenses. There has been new laws issued by the Central Bank of the UAE to also to tackle money laundering violations and enforce the proper due diligence and screening for the customers across the country and also abroad. So if we go globally, there's the 6 AML directives. There's a new entity also in the EU zone has been formed, which is called ALMA, or Anti-Money Laundering Agency, that supervise and also oversee the money laundering related activities and sanctions compliance across all the EU zones members. Yeah. So the regulatory at the universe, if you want to call it, is very broad. As I mentioned, it's not just related to financial sector. Now we are seeing regulations coming to energy related sectors. We see regulations coming from ESG, modern slavery. Now recently, for example, the GDPR and data protection laws. So every now and then there is a re-regulation when it comes to compliance and email and data privacy and sanctions, etc. So first of all, we need to make sure as companies we are continuously following this space to get what we need to do to match these regulations or to comply with these regulations. Second, also, we are protecting ourselves, we are protecting our customers, we are protecting our reputation from dealing with suspicious entities or violating any of these regulations. Yeah, it's not just a burden that we have to comply with X regulation or that X Y new laws. It's more of from our favor perspectives and for a better kind of economy, for a better kind of global ecosystem that everyone works, in a very transparent and safe fashion. So that's the ultimate objective. Some of the problems that you might face, and you might also maybe ask yourself about, why do I need to buy this X solution or buy this data for compliance sanctions? I can still use Google. I I can use the public websites and download this list from their websites, or download that list from that regulator. The scattered data approach is another problem. So, for example, if I take Google, Google, they use if you do a Google search on any entities that you basically looking for, they use kind of algorithms, and these algorithms, they change frequently. So that's why the results sometimes it's not the same when you search across the year. So that's why bringing a consistent data set that you can use is very beneficial for you, and also it saves you a lot of time to follow that kind of list, or download this sheet from this website, or that repository, etc. So that's why we kind of bringing all of this contents and data to you in one place. This data is called World Check. So the name, I'm sure may be familiar with to most of you. The company started in 2000 in Cape Town back in the days, and it became part of Thomson Reuters and now Refinitiv in the past 30 years. So what World Check in a nutshell is a high-level set of structured data that you can use to screen your customers, or you screen your third parties, and this data is a collective set of sanctions, regulatory enforcements, law enforcement data, adverse media, and data related to PEPs, captured from all over the world. As you see here on the map, we do have reach to most, I would say, like the majority of the regulators from all over the world. This data is captured by a very strong and competent research analysts who are based in 240 plus countries, and they continuously feed this data or feed these contents with the domestic kind of information that just goes beyond the translation, not just downloading the list and feeding it into the website. We do a lot of enhancements and fine-tuning for this data to make sure it's structured in a way that is can be easily consumed by our customers. The core blocks of the World Check data, as I mentioned, is centralized on 6 major blocks, as you see here on the screen. So sanctions is number 1. So when it comes to sanctions, you need to make sure that you are following the sanctions regimes for the countries or for the laws that you follow from a regulatory perspective. So that's why if for example in the UAE there is a list of sanctioned entities, you don't have to deal with them. You don't have to deal with them. Then you need to comply with that, and you need to make sure you screen your new customers or new third parties against these sanctions lists, right? Likewise for the PEPs, if you are dealing with the people who are or who were before in a public roles or in a political kind of roles, you need to be aware of that, because PEPs sometimes carry certain risks when it comes to business. Some countries, there is no risk in being a PEP, or maybe I wouldn't say there's no risk. There's less risk of being a PEP than others, because there are certain jurisdictions, there's some sort of risks of corruption and bribery and so on. That's why you need to be aware of that. Likewise for the state-owned entities, and also the negative news. So why the negative news is equally important also, because sometimes you need to understand that what comes from the sanctions or law enforcement and regulatory perspectives does not necessarily cover all kinds of crimes or violations. There are certain civil crimes or civil offenses that might pop up in the negative news, and could be equally important for you before you establish business with your customers. For the sake of time, I'm going to just go quickly as well, because we have limited time, and I wanted to make sure you have enough time for questions. What do we have on WorldCheck data as a data? Is individuals, companies, as I mentioned, state-owned entities, vessels, aircraft, ports, international organizations. So all of these entities is part of the contents that is available on WorldCheck. And as of our reach, we do have like a global customer base, not just necessarily in the banking and financial sector. We do have also customers from government, from regulatory bodies from all over the world. We do follow also very strict procedures when it comes to data confidentiality and data privacy measures. Some of the laws and regulations, as you see here, that we follow, for example, across different sectors. So from sanctions perspectives, you have we do have everything that exists on almost every single sanctions list on the world. Giving an example of OFAC, UK HMT, the UAE sanctions, the UN sanctions, etc. From, for example, the anti-money laundering regulations, we follow the FCPA, the UK Bribery Act. Likewise, for the anti-organized crime and for the human rights and supply chain regulations. So this is just a short brief of regulatory drivers that we capture in the WorldCheck data. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the good thing of this is you don't have to be worried or following different kinds of sources. We do all of this for you, and we continuously monitor these regulatory news and update our data continuously. In terms of the options that WorldCheck can be available to you or to your customers, we have three options. We can have like an API that can automate and digitize the KYC experience. Where we do have also a ready-made online option that just subscription-based. You don't have to do any kind of development or integration. And the third option is the raw data, will basically give you a set of the data set completely of WorldCheck. And this data set can be either in a CSV or XML format and get downloaded on a daily basis with updates to your platform or to your premises. So so far I have explained the data element and the different options where you can benefit from this data. I would jump to the automation and the API just to give you some sort of overview. When it comes to the API, and I'm sure most of you now is part of this like digital transformation or digitizing the customer experience. So we do have the APIs, whether it's for the WorldCheck screening or for the digital ID verification. These APIs can integrate with wide range of middlewares or third-party systems through the technologies of web services. So as you see over in the screen, for example, if you're using a CRM system and you onboard the customer, and at the moment of this onboarding, automatically you can send You can send a call to the API and verify this customer against wall check data and see if there's any kind of hits or matches against his or her name in this workflow. And based on that kind of response, you can decide whether you want to go ahead with the relationship or the account opening, or you would like to kind of do different kind of scenarios or workflows based on the matches or possibly positive hits. So this is just an example of workflow that you can build with these services. It's extremely flexible, extremely dynamic. You can assemble it and form it the way you want to match your workflow. So as I mentioned, we see a massive adoption for the API specifically across our clients in the region, mainly because there is a big driver for the automation and the digital transformation. Most of the clients, they would like to have more efficiency when it comes to customer onboarding. They don't want to do the manual legacy fashion of putting the name and keying the results and then keying the names and seeing the results and then review them manually and see this is yes, this is no. That's time consuming, that's money consuming, that is resources consuming. So that's why we see massive adoption for the digital transformation for the KYC and the compliance domain as well. And of course, the APIs is part of this domain or part of this journey. From capabilities perspectives, these APIs, as I mentioned, is connected with our data. So you're getting the same data that the physical file or the ready-made online interface is getting. What is required is basically you need to design the workflow of integration that you can use to consume these services. That's the thing that need to be done at your part. We do have another also set of APIs mainly for digital identity verification. Just to go through this quickly, you can use these APIs to verify the ID of your customers, the passports, the driving license, etc. So these kind of APIs connects with real-time registries, government official registries. So, for example, if you want to validate a customer who's a UK citizen against the official records of his or her country, you can do this using these APIs. You can validate a live picture of him against the one that he's loading or scanning on the passport copy. This kind of digital verification or digital onboarding can be also a perfect use of these APIs, simply for the reason because you don't want people to go to the branch, give you the original passports and physically being in person. You can do that using these digital identity verification APIs, because as I mentioned, it's kind of validating in real time the data, the ID data, which is provided by the customers. And this validation is taking place against official records, official government records and registries. I don't want to go into more details. That's in a nutshell what we can do. So the data, the wall check data, the different kind of APIs that we can provide to help identify the customers, verifying the ID documents, and also screen them against the sanctions or the regulatory or negative media sources. So this collective kind of offering is the sole objective for it is to make sure you as a company or as a startup, you have enough about your customers, you know enough about the third parties that you are dealing with, and most importantly, you're not exposing yourself to any kind of risks from having a customer who is at one day or was on a sanctions list or was on a kind of AML related offenses or financial crime related or terrorist financing related activities. So that's the sole objectives, because the fines is not just the only penalty, like the only penalty that usually the companies face. The fines is one of the penalties, but the most important penalty is the reputation, like my image in front of my customers, in front of my third parties is gonna be ruined, and that's more important than the fine that I'm gonna pay for a regulator because of violating the rules or regulations. That's pretty much it. I'll leave the floor to you guys if you have any questions or anything you would like to ask. Just post it in the chat. We're happy to, we are based in Dubai, both of myself and Amir. If you would like to have any questions or any further information, feel free to reach out to us directly. We're happy to answer any of these queries if you want. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if we. Yeah. If there's any questions from the audience. Silence. Okay.
There's one question on the chat.
What is the source of data feeding these APIs? So the source of data is the wall check data, which is the same data that I explained from the beginning. The data that's basically coming from all regulatory bodies from all over the world, captured by Refinitiv researchers and continuously updated with the new contents that comes from the regulatory bodies from all over the world. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm not sure if I answered your question. How can we, I guess FinTech Hive team will share with you our contact details, myself and Amir. We are based in Dubai, so you can reach out to us through emails or through phone calls. Or now we are open also to meetings. So any of these options, it's.
And also, guys, if you are interested as a FinTech Hive cohort to beta test or back test or run the data in a sandbox scenario, let us know. We can give you a sample set of the data. And I'm not sure what sort of kind of solutions that you guys are working with, but I would imagine if it's some sort of a payment processing software or app, online payments, even crypto payments, e-wallets of some sort. This is something that we could help with. One of our biggest clients currently is Binance. Obviously, everyone knows them in the cryptocurrency kind of sector. So yeah, I mean, looking at KYC prior to onboarding clients, background checks and stuff like that, something that's required by the regulators if you are looking to participate in the financial services sector. So you got to be very vigilant of that. There's reputational risk involved, as well as operational risk. And you might be able to throw money on the operation on the operational side to mitigate it, but you won't be able to throw money to mitigate any reputational risk.
Exactly.
So with that, just as food for thought, I'd like to thank Case for the presentation, and also the IFC FinTech Hive for their partnership and support. We're here to support you again. Please do reach out to us. We have a lot of expertise, resources, not just in the realm of risk and compliance. We are one of the biggest global data technology companies in the world. So you reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help.
Yeah. Thank you, Amir. I think we have one more question here. Is it possible to outsource KYC and AML? There is okay. The answer is yes. I think there's so many companies who does the compliance outsourcing kind of job for other companies, depending on the size of your company and your requirements. So if it's something that can be outsourced to these guys, the corporate service providers, the answer is yes. If it's too big, outsourcing could be more problematic than having it under your supervision, because as I mentioned at the beginning, you are the only one who knows your compliance policy, who best knows about compliance policies and what you need to do to comply. If you wish to outsource this to another company, you're kind of delegating the responsibility to this partner. And sometimes this might work, sometimes this might not. So it's a double-edged sword. Another question, do you have a partner model for technologies that may be able to leverage the solution within the platform? The answer is yes. We do have a partnership team. We do have a partnership model as well for technology companies like you. Reach out to us. I can share with you more details about this. Definitely, we can work with you on that. No problem. Any other questions?
There's another question. We haven't registered as the IFC entity. Can we still do a sandbox test with you? By all means, you can. Yes. Obviously, because you're part of this forum, I would still like to okay this with the IFC guys, fintech guys, and if that's okay with them, we'll be happy to help you. Our contact details are there. So yeah, the answer is yes, but just give the DIFC guys a nudge. Our HQ is based in London. Would be able to connect. Can it? Yeah, sure. We've got a head office in UK. We'll be happy to help you here, or we can basically pass down your contacts to our team in London to help, whichever is easier for you.
Yeah.
So no worries. Okay.
Cool.
If there are any other questions, thank you very much, guys, for joining.
Thank you so much.
All the best. And we're here to help. If you need any of us, we're happy to help and have a conversation.
Absolutely.
Wish you all a great weekend and stay safe. Thank you, DIFC. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.